It was a disastrous set of results for the Conservatives yesterday, with Rishi Sunak's party losing both by-elections. Labour overturned a majority of more than 24,000 in Dean Dorry's old seat of Mid Bedfordshire, a seat the party has never held before. And in Chris Pincher's former constituency, Tamworth, the Tories lost a 19,000 vote majority, the second biggest swing in a by-election since the war, of 23.9%. Well, the Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, has called the results phenomenal, saying his party was redrawing the political map.
This is an incredible night in politics, an incredible morning, an incredible result here for so many reasons. It is clear that the voters here have turned their back on a failed Tory government. They've had enough of the decline of the last 13 years and they are crying out for change, positive change that the Labour Party can bring them.
Well, those by-election results come a year to the day since Liz Truss resigned as Prime Minister, paving the way for Rishi Sunak to enter number 10. But is the Prime Minister now running out of time to turn things around before the next election? Well, my question to you today is, after those two disastrous by-election defeats to Labour, what does this mean for the next general election, for the Conservatives, for the country? What does it mean for you? How are you going to vote? What do you predict everyone else will do? Give us a call on 0344 499 1000. You can text me on 87222, or you can get in touch on X at TalkTV. Well, a commentator, Sam Armstrong, is still with me in the studio. And to discuss the double by-election defeat for the Tories, we're also joined by Lord Hayward. Robert Hayward is a Tory peer and also a polling expert. Good afternoon to you both, and welcome to the studio the first time, Lord Hayward. I'll come to you in a moment, Sam, but Lord Hayward, whenever we talk to you, you've got two hats on. You're a Tory peer, you've got your allegiances, and then you take that hat off and put on your pollster hat. Pollster hat on first, if you would. Let's just go through the full horror of those by-election results that came through in the early hours of the morning. Tamworth was Chris Pincher's seat. He resigned over these claims about sexual harassment, and he lost his appeal against being basically sort of suspended from the Commons. It's been Tory since 2010, had a 19,000 majority, second biggest swing at 23.9% in the swing from to Labour since 1945. I mean, it's absolutely huge swing. No other governing party has ever lost a seat as safe as Tamworth. This was a strong Leave voting seat in 2016, a red wall seat, the sort of seat that, you know, we saw Boris Johnson winning with aplomb, but now a seat that has gone to Labour. Big question marks about their should we say, their devotion to Leave. Sarah Edwards has now got a majority of 1,192 for Labour. Mid Bedfordshire, it was Nadine Dorry's seat. She resigned over this whole shenanigans over Boris Johnson's resignation honours. It's been a Tory seat for a century. For a century, a 20.5% swing to Labour, a majority of more than 24,500 back at the last general election. This was a three-way fight between Labour and the Lib Dems and the Tories, and the Labour candidate, Alistair Strathern, was still able to win. What does that tell us about those scale of defeats?
The results for the Conservatives are dire, there's no question about that. They're very good news for the Labour Party. They are, as you say, two seats which have history in both cases of being essentially Conservative, but in different ways. Tamworth having been Labour until 2010. And the message is the electorate at large has not forgiven the Conservatives for the events of 2020 to 2022.
OK, so there's that lockdown, or is it Partygate specifically? And is it? And can you narrow it down to those? Is it about COVID and lockdown, or is it about other things that have happened?
It's never solely about anything. You know that people have an opinion built up over years. But having been out on the doorstep, been canvassing, the concern that the electorate were expressing, excuse me, in Mid Bedfordshire about the last few years was the thing that came through most.
Yeah.
And what is significant, you've identified the figures, the swings are huge.
I mean, they're quite shocking.
They are huge. But what is striking is actually swing big, switches, not easy to identify if they have been. The Labour vote in Tamworth is below what they got in 2017. Mm-hmm. In Mid Bedfordshire, it's actually below what they got in 2019.
What do you think, the actual number of votes?
Number of votes.
I'm going to hold on a minute. It's a by-election. Now, we had lots of Tories on, again, keeping a pollster hat on.
Yep.
But Tory, Greg Hands, the Tory party chair, has been on the TV and radio this morning saying, look, it's very low turnout. Well, actually, I mean, turnout is actually rather good in both seats for a by-election, and for a by-election on a miserable... One of them was 44%, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. There is one direct comparison, which is Tamworth.
Yeah.
Because there was a by-election in the seat called South East Staffs in 1996, just before Labour had this huge majority in 1997. The South East Staffs seats is virtually the same as Tamworth. Yeah. The turnout in South East Staffs was 62%.
At a by-election?
At a by-election.
OK, but relative
and
to
it was
normal
almost half of that. No, it's not even...
You're saying it's still a low turnout?
It's low
on
turnout.
On a miserable, wet, rainy October day?
It's low. It's comparable with by-elections for this recent period.
OK.
But if you go back, even a short period of time... But
again, we know the turnout in votes has largely gone down, hasn't it?
But at the last election...
Here's the thing. The line that the Tory government are saying is, look, this isn't a massive swing to Labour. This is Tory MPs, Tory voters sitting at home. They're cross. They want to give Tories a bloody nose. They're going to sit on their hands. Come general election day, they'll go, well, I will go and vote because I always vote in elections, and we know Tories are more likely to be turning out and older voters and the like. And then they'll go, I'm not happy with the Tories, but rather than the Labour Party.
And that's the worry, and this is where I've got very much my analyst hat on. They can't be convinced of that. The Tory top guard have got to hope that's the case, but all the indications are that many of the voters, they will go and vote, but they won't necessarily vote Conservative.
Well, what do you make of the vote for the Reform UK party, Richard Tice's party? Just 5%, one of those seats lower, and another seat could be the difference between the Tories winning or losing. Is that significant?
There is a possibility, but equally, we know that people vote all over the place for all sorts of different reasons. Yeah. There was a clash of surnames in Tamworth. Both the Tory and Reform candidates were both called Cooper. And that is a larger Reform vote than if you take Mid-Beds and the other by-elections.
And you think that may have confused people?
It will have been part of the confusion.
I love that these things happen.